Hey, what's up? It's Joe. Welcome to my 5 Minute Friday for September 6th. So, what's been on my mind this week? I was reflecting back on a conversation I had with one of my best friends. So, he's um, been a pilot for, 30 plus years now. Um, and, I always try and talk to people, especially people outside of tech. I just find that it helps me kind of calibrate my own career as well as the careers of people in general in say tech and data, against other things people do for a living, right? I think it's easy to get caught up in our filter bubble about, whatever it is we're concerned with, data, AI, all this kind of stuff. And it's funny, you step outside and talk to people like, my friend who's a pilot, and he's no notion of AI whatsoever. It's refreshing. But we're talking about like how good do you have to be at your job, right? And so I would say the things that make you good in tech and in data are being able to continuously learn and improve your skills, stay ahead of the steamroller of technology, so to speak. Otherwise you run the risk of obsolescence. So there's always a game of, improving your knowledge and your competence and your skills, learning new things, refining your existing skills, being able to output, high quality, code or data products, preferably at an ever faster rate. At least that's the expectation, right? And what's interesting is when you talk to, a pilot, like my friend who's been doing this forever, he said actually pilots tend to get really bored because at a certain point, how good you have to be at your job is pretty simple. Like you make sure you don't crash the plane. That's the first thing. And then the second one is you make sure that the cargo and the passengers arrive safely. So in his case, he's flown commercial aircraft, with cargo or giant jumbo jets for passengers, and now flies Gulfstreams for billionaires doing private planes. But the imperative is you don't crash, right? There's no extra points for trying to be fancy when you're flying. I hope you understand what this means. So if you're say you're flying on a regular passenger plane and the pilot decides to do a some sort of a roll midair, I think that while impressive, might also scare the living daylights out of the passenger. It's incredibly unsafe and would probably lead to that pilot losing his or her job. So again, the upper limit of where you can succeed as a pilot is basically a function of you being able to take the plane from point A to point B and not crash it, and hopefully everything arrives intact, right? So and it also means like there's at a certain point there's no more money to be made. Because you're as good as you're going to get, right? So how good, again, you have to be at this job is you just have to not crash the plane and make sure your passengers ideally arrive safely. But you compare how good you have to be, again, in fields like what we're in, tech and data, and it's a bit more murky, right? I think it depends on the type of job you're doing, and there's also the notion of a 10x developer. Ideally, this mythical unicorn can have the output of perhaps 10 kind of baseline average engineers, or however you want to define 10x. I think it's kind of an elusive term, but the point being that there's always somebody who's a lot better, right? If you're trying to equate this to pilots, maybe what was it, Scullerson or whatever his name was, the pilot who landed the passenger plane in 2009 at the Hudson River. Like that's definitely a level of skill for sure, but it's not like you have to exhibit that every day, right? But you should be able to know what to do when the time is right. So that's, but you're not trying to gun for an output of more of those types of things. So I think it's a big difference versus in tech and data and other professions where you're examined on the quality of your output and the frequency of your output. It's a different ballgame. So I guess the whole point is, it's helpful to sometimes step outside of our bubble and understand how good you have to be at other jobs, right? Carpenters, for example, and I used to be a floor installer back in the day. So, I was basically paid to make sure that the floors were installed correctly. There's, no mistakes, and that's about it. And you leave your work behind at the end of the day. I kind of miss those days, actually. Um, but it's not like, I'd have to keep up on, the new trends in flooring. I mean, flooring's been around for ages, and there's not much to it. Same with demolition work. I used to do that a lot, and that's actually a lot of fun. But you get paid to take down a structure. That's how good you have to be at your job, is make sure that structure's gone, and ideally that nobody gets hurt. Sometimes hard to do in demolition, right? So anyway, how good do you have to be at your job? I'd say just know the expectations of what you're hired to do. I think all too often people actually don't ask that question in the tech and data field. They think that knowing a bunch of tools is great and that's sufficient. I'd say that's baseline, but understand what the business wants from you. Understand how good you have to be at delivering to what the business needs from you, right? So that's how good you have to be at your job in this field. But again, it's very context dependent on where you work. So anyway, a bit of a different rant, but again, I encourage you to step outside your comfort zone, talk to people who don't work in tech and data, and just kind of understand what makes them tick. It's just crazy how many people ask me about what I do all day, and then they just kind of look more confused actually. Like in tech and data, I think the question, if you talk to non-technical people, is it actually real work or not? So we live in our bubble just like everybody else does, and so anyway, that's the career advice / rant for today. What's going on here? If you're in Salt Lake City, next Tuesday on September 10th, we're having a low-key happy hour, and my friend Ethan Aaron, the godfather of the low-key happy hours, is going to be in attendance with his team from Portable, so it's going to be awesome to hang out with them. It's always fun to catch up with Ethan. He's one of the most genuinely nice people I know. After that, I'm going to be on a 3-week tour, starting in London for Big Data London. So kicking off that with a bunch of appearances and a keynote and some panels. And that's also the day that the data engineering specialization comes out in Coursera. So that's going to be a big day, for me and for the Deep Learning AI and Coursera people. So shout out to everybody at Deep Learning AI who helped out with the course. There's a lot of people, we rocked it. So yeah, it means a lot to see this coming to a completion. And then I'm going to be on the Data Eng Bytes tour from Sydney, Perth, Melbourne, and Auckland, New Zealand for the 2 weeks and back. Then I'm speaking at DBT Coalesce, I think on October 9th. And then just, lots of talks. The book is coming along really well. I think I'm getting past the 2 hardest chapters in the book. Chapter 4 is about the building blocks of a data model. I hope that comes out as soon as this weekend. It's very hard to write. And then chapter 5, the basically creating a data model, sort of a generic look at that. So hope to get those 2 done before I leave for London. So I'll be heads down working on that. Anyway, hope you all have a great weekend, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.